why them call we the Isle of Spice. We are do it with ease, calm and cool like the island breeze. Coconut water keep we heart clean. On this rock life just too sweet. Well, I come from a broken village where the ministers steal and rob and pillage. Teachers can't find food, them a suffer while we leaders bread, well, toast and butter. Insecurities run.
A minute gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the morning time. Good morning to you, Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you wherever you are. It's a wonderful, a glorious Tuesday morning. It is in fact, the 26th day of the month of July. And indeed, we're giving God thanks and praise for being alive, being in the land of the living, being in most parts in good health, and even though we're not in 100% health, the fact that we are here, it means we're still attempting to find that divine purpose, or we've acknowledged the purpose, but we have not started the pursuit and or the realization of our ultimate dream, that of happiness in whatever way, form, or fashion that you determine that you would find it. I'm Joseph Kodo, and welcome to this edition of To The Point. Indeed, it's a pleasure being here with you. For those of you wherever you are, those of you in Classic 105.5 and 105.9, or those of you that's on GBN television, that's channel 7, channel 11, channel 20 if you're in cable, or if you're following us via the different social media platform. Indeed, we say thanks for being part of this morning's conversation. Social media platform, we say thank you. That's YouTube and Facebook, and those that's on the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd. We say a wonderful good morning to you. Literally, folks, July is almost history. And before we know it, Carnival is going to be right around the corner, and the match is on. The match is on to Spice Mass 2022. So much is happening. The activities as they rolling out. Some say it almost got lost in the events as part of the build-up to the general elections on the 23rd of June. But that's history now. And here we are on in full pursuit to Spice Mass 2020. What's your thoughts, though? Let's do we're going to do an open line this morning as we look. We have that conversation. Your thoughts, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? Are you feeling Carnival? Are you seeing what's your thoughts on the quality of the music? And this Queen show, there was the finalists. They've been selected for the Groovy and for the Soca Monarch. And so much that is happening. There's been a conversation regarding prize monies. That conversation, I'm telling you, it has only but just started, because we can show you that tomorrow on Beyond the Headlines, a special edition of Beyond the Headlines, we will dissect the conversation. We'll dissect the conversation with some of the movers and shakers in the industry. But we can agitate it today. More money? Is it right? Should a conversation? Is it time to start that conversation? What say you? Just give us your general thoughts on where we are as we continue to bask in the glory of the performances of our athletes that just came from the just ended games, the championships, that is, the World Championships. And they're those who've left to go to Birmingham for the Commonwealth Games. Indeed, we say, hooray, hats off to those, to you. And it's not, I know many of us, we measure success by gold, silver, and diamonds, but very often success can be measured just by the very virtue of participating in an event. Whether we come out ultimately in top, or I say to you, just by participating, you are already a winner. The number on the inside, 435-2041. Share your thoughts with us, and certainly we'll appreciate it when you call. You try to make it as brief as possible. Keep your thoughts together, and we're going to get through this quite nicely this morning. Yesterday was the official start of the Yard Vibes put up by the GBN, and the platform allows For you, the artists, masqueraders, everybody, we provide you a platform where you could come and just get some entertainment, get some airtime, get some vibes, start some vibes on the outside, yeah. That started yesterday and continues today at 1:00. If you are there, you need to register. Give us a call here at the GBN. But we have a caller that is on the line. Say good morning to you, caller. You're live.
Good morning, Mr. Joseph. Good morning.
Good morning to you, caller.
I just want to say congratulate Kirani. I think he is an exceptional human being, and one of the things that is very unique about him, he always makes, most times, the sign of the cross. He's not ashamed of his faith, and I think that is so commendable. My other point is I'm listening to some of the calypsos, not the calypsos, the soca. Yeah?
Yes.
And I am a little bit worried about the lyrics of these songs. There is so much abuse of children, of women, and I'm wondering if persons are really concerned about, our children with the kind of lyrics that are being played and all of that. So that's just my contribution.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate that. 452041, that is the number on the inside. Questions regarding the lyrics, and you would hear varied schools of thoughts on it. And certainly, some would argue that the art form, it has evolved. Some say in the wrong direction, some say maybe in the right direction. But it's always going to be varied schools of thoughts on the issue. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Hi, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning
I
to you,
just
sir.
called to make an observation. Yeah, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, I was just calling to make an observation.
Sure, go ahead.
I noticed on one of in the news clipping last night, one of the lady that made the finals in the Soca Monarch, in the back of her, she props, there was two young girls. In my estimation, there was nothing between 15 and 16. And I think we normally make a hurrah about every single thing. But here you have a lady on stage with young children. One of them girls, the one, if I turn around, that'll be the one on her left. I hope they're not going to school. I think the people that is involved in the shows and them should really have a look at the clip. I'm certain it is there. I look at it on GBN last night. I also look at it again this morning. I have it on my phone.
Okay.
So I really like other people to look at that. It is wrong. It's totally wrong to have young children on a soccer stage winding up like that. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. 452041, that's the number on the inside. It's Open Line Tuesday Carnival. I just want to remind you that in the midst of while you get ready for Spice Mass 2022, keep in mind that school, new school term in September, is there waiting on you. Whether you prepare for it or not, it's waiting on you. So in all you do as you play your mass, do what you have to do. Keep in mind that you have to get your children ready for the new school term in September. Those probably heading into secondary school for the first time, and those heading into an advanced class, or you're moving on at some other level of education. Parents, guardians, remember that time is not going to wait on you. You have to start the preparation process now. 452041, that's the number to get in on the inside. We go back to the telephone lines this morning. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Yes, Joe, good morning. Joe, I do not watch and listen to Carnival business. But what I'm commenting on is what I've heard the comments people make. That gentleman that just spoke about the two young people. If this is the case, I don't know that our young people have a future that would, make them somebody. Because if as a young girl. It could be under adult stage, whining and gyrating.
Yeah, but before you go on, call it. Remember, the gentleman was not certain.
No, she was exactly what.
So let's not beat up on anybody in particular until, if you're making a general observation, I have no problems with that. But to start zeroing in on that, I understand the concern, but let's not beaten up on that because I have not seen a video. We're not certain.
We always try to defend things that are wrong.
Jeremiah, this is not my position. I don't know why we get into this. I am not here to be the master of what people do and don't do. That's not my position, Ms. Jeremiah. I'm here to facilitate the conversation. I'm not here to be judge, jury, or executioner on anybody's behavior. That's not my position. I'm saying if you're going to make a general observation, please feel free to make a general observation and do not beat up on something that you don't know for a fact. That's all I'm saying.
The thing the gentleman lied. He said he had it on his phone. He said he saw it last night.
Listen, Ms. Jeremiah, I don't know why we find ourselves going on the road and he made an observation regarding the possible ages. He said he looked at it and he would like for the authorities to look into it. But if by chance that's what it is, then it shouldn't be. All I'm saying is you don't start beating up on individuals.
The authority should make sure, especially this personal community, we talk about children and the shows you hear people bringing children in lying on the grass in these adult shows. You hear a lot of things that's happening with our children. And it is time that we make some kind of a rule that we say no children under, a child is under 18, they say 18 years adult. And you have a lot of people, a lot of children who's under, you know, but I mean, no, they're not 18. And they're going to adult things, they're doing adult things, and this is wrong. And so we need somebody who would be a model to guide these young people to teach their parents, because to me, most of those parents are children themselves. Because the word of God tells in the latter days, children shall bring forth children. And so some of those mothers are very young people, and they cannot even control the children that they bring in the world. So I'm saying we need to speak out against this thing, and those who are sponsoring the shows and doing the shows, they need to make sure that the rules are kept, that children under certain age do not attend. And if you have to have them, then you don't take part, you stay with the children at home. Thank you.
Thank you. 435-2041. I think very often we hear things and we start getting all emotional about it. My issue is not here to be judge, jury, whether it's right or wrong. The gentleman made an observation. All I'm saying is, without having evaluated it, I don't think we should start. He was not beating up on them. He was merely making an observation. And it's a reasonable observation, but when someone chooses to come and want to start pouncing on them without even having seen the material, that cannot be right. That cannot be right and will never be right. You can't start making judgments over things that you have not seen or heard. In his case, he saw and he raised a concern, which in my estimation is a reasonable concern. 435-2041. I think that's one of the challenges in life, that we cast judgments and we make things over things we've not even seen ourselves, to make a proper evaluation. And in the gentleman's case, he wasn't condemning. He raised a concern. But sometimes others choose to go down a road and try to determine whether or not I'm covering for people. Trust me, it's not my place to do that. But we go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Morning, morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
You know, I've been listening to programs on the radio since the election started and them things. But I never hear a minister or anybody that is responsible for living with disabilities come and speak. Thank you.
435-2041, that's the number on the inside. It is just about 14, not just about, it is in fact 14 minutes gone past the hour in the morning. We'll take a quick commercial break, quick commercial break, and we'll be right back right here on Classic.
Level of convenience and comfort awaits you when you shop at Rise and Shine Supermarket and Hardware Supplies, Griffin Lane, Grenville. Convenient, Because we are open Sunday to Sunday. We're even at your service on public holidays. Comfort, because we are easily accessible to the physically challenged. Free Wi-Fi is available while you shop, and bags come at no charge. Everyday low prices and excellent customer care. Adequate parking available. We supply everything you can possibly think of. Family and home supplies, fresh meat, vegetables, and personal care products. All brands of cooking gas at affordable prices. You can send in your order, have it pulled, or pick up express.
After 2 years of no mass, no bacchanal, and no vibe, are you ready to be thrilled again? Well, get ready for Amazing Colors Monday Night Mass. And this year will be the most amazing return ever. Amazing Colors presents Trilogy. Wanna play Monday Night Mass? Then it's easy. Call 415-6174. It's Amazing Colors Trilogy. Unlimited drinks all night. It's Amazing Colors Trilogy. Monday Night Mass. It will be amazing.
Parents, do you go to bed with the knowledge that your children are comfortably asleep in the next room? Or are they allowed to attend every FET advertised? You are responsible for the safety and well-being of your children, and it is your responsibility to know their whereabouts. Children should not be at adult events. Please guide your children, engage them in age-appropriate activities. Let us be spicy parents for this carnival season and beyond. S. Speak to your children about positive behavior. P. Pay attention to them at all times. I. Inspire good behavior in your children by also displaying good behavior. C. Check with your children. Always know their whereabouts. Y. You are responsible for your children. Maintain control to keep them safe. This is a message from the National Parenting Program, Ministry of Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs.
16 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the morning time. Welcome back to The Point Open Line Forum for you, as we give you an opportunity to share your thoughts, the build-up of Carnival. And it's a conversation that continues to surface the issue of children, age-appropriate events that are attended to by adult events that's been attended to by children. But let's go back to the telephone line. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning. I'm Mr. I just want to register my concern about that gentleman who spoke about the child. I saw it myself, and I was appalled at that performance. And this morning, this gentleman was talking about some almond nut song or whatever. And I'm wondering, do you have to talk about school children in your song? You know, there are so many adults you can make reference to. So we need to step up. We need to step up. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. 18 minutes gone past the hour of 9 o'clock in the morning time to The Point, and it's a continued conversation, and I know it's one that should be a topical one, that what is happening to our young people, what is age appropriate for them. And in any society, we're always going to find that it's going to be mixed positions on issues. Some we might hold as being sensitive, others may be more liberal, while some may take a more traditional view to it. But I think wherever you sit, it should be a conversation. What is happening to our children? What are the appropriate behavior? What sort of behavior is appropriate for children? And I think parents have a responsibility. It starts with parents have a responsibility to ensure that they inculcate and they instill values in their kids that would remain with them. I think very often we leave our children to grow up, as I say, like rogues and vagabonds. And then we hope that society, and yes, while we have a responsibility collectively to take care of our children, I think the onus, the ultimate responsibility is with parents. Starts at home. What sort of values are we instilling in our children what to do. Do you know where your kids are? And I always prefer as a parent to be told that I'm in a state of paranoia. Yeah, I prefer to be in a state of paranoia and be fully aware and in charge than to be totally naive, ignorant, and adopt a nonchalant attitude and end up in a state of total disbelief and shock, ultimately. You too, I think each and every one of us, we have a responsibility to be part of that national conversation. 435-2041, and that's the number on the inside. Reminding you that you too, you can post your comments via the WhatsApp page. That's the GBN WhatsApp page. Same as the in-studio number, 435-2041. Yes, and that would get you on the inside. I'm just going to try to check to see what's happening there on social media. But before we do it, I'm going to engage a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You are live. Good morning, caller. You are live. And again, I do want to encourage you that once you call, the conversation can and will be conducted via the telephone line. I know sometimes people are tempted to want to hear themselves, but that only compromises the quality of the broadcast. Once you call, move away or cut off whatever electronic device that you're listening on, and let's conduct the conversation via the telephone. 435-2041, reminding you that you can post your comments via the social media platforms. There's no law against that. Is there anything or anybody there? No, there isn't. What is age appropriate? Somebody raised a concern about the quality of the music, and that sometimes the music tends to focus a lot of negative values and tend to be a little bit derogatory. It focuses a lot on the consumption of alcohol and promotes behavior. And there are some artists that have taken the art form to the next level. Some have argued that very often the music tend to be laden and totally infested with the concept that enjoying carnival is about consuming alcohol, it's about being vulgar in our behavior, is that you just do. And again, as I say, we are not here to be judge, juries, and executioners on people's behavior. But you hear stories where people, they go out to carnival and they enjoy themselves to the limit, as though there is no tomorrow. And then shamefully they see themselves on social media or traditional media, and then they start going, oh my gosh, is that me? Was that really me having a ball of a time? And while there's nothing wrong with one enjoying themselves, I think we must learn to offer some control on our behavior. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Mr. Julius. Are you talking about the Calypsonian and the music? People saying something to suit them and what they feel it is best for them, like to make money offer. I even want to feel like an enjoyment. But I think is the onus is on the people who own the station, like GBN, they push this kind of music. It low the standard of the radio station, and you low the standard of the person who the DJ or whoever it is operating. So I think when these things come out, it's supposed to be a sensor first that people you listen before you really put it on the radio, and that's how you're going to call it. Because you can sing good songs and you can't play. Once the song is not appropriate for the listening public, the person who's there not supposed to play it. We know that a lot of us have their friends especially on the FM stations, and the friend will push the song, but they low the standard of the station, and the person who is DJ low themselves with their standard for themselves too, because it's obviously can't be effective unless you play. And that's what you're going to call these things.
But then there's always a challenge of social media.
Well, of course it is, but you have to. Well, we can't control the social media side like you have Facebook, and you can't control that. But the listening and the radio itself, it's more because there are a lot of people who cannot really go on Facebook and things to listen to the radio, and the radio is a part of teach. It's supposed to be educating people, and our radio station is supposed to be a place of educating people in all the forms of education. Whatever it is, supposed to be educating them. But when you play these songs that is not uplifting, you downgrade the station, you downgrade the person who is in there, and you downgrade the public and a whole. So we have to hold the standard high at all the time. You want the song to be played, then do us clean, pretty good. There's a lot of things to be sung on inside instead of these old jam and that make no sense.
Right.
Because something that is a lesson, and it's a message. When you sing, as I said, you must get a message in it, and you can't get a message in it, then you wait a while playing it. And I see it again, the person who play it, you downgrade the station, and they downgrade himself, and they downgrade the public. Around the base.
Thank you very much, sir. 435-2041, that's the number on the inside. Has our value base shifted? Has it shifted? Has our value base shifted? It would be a question that someone would say yes, no. Some may probably still be in a quandary about it. Good morning, caller. You are live. 25 minutes past the hour of 9.
Good morning. Joe, you sometimes speak as if you do not, as if we are not aware that things are not always as we would like it to go. You give the impression that once you have taught a child all the values, the proper values, etc., they automatically follow. But let me give you a statistic, and you probably could come to get it from where I get. 37.3% of the children that grow up in this world do not do nothing. They do the exact opposite to what the parents teach them or what they saw, and that is good and bad. You teach your child all the values, 37% of them would go, quote-unquote, astray. And 37% of them who grew up in a household seeing all kind of unsavory thing will grow up being very good children anyway. So to believe that you want to instill, quote-unquote, instill great values in your children, they will automatically be great adults, it is a misnomer.
What is your interpretation, sir, of a good child?
You notice I did not say anything about a good child. I said good values in your child, they'll grow up to be.
So do you disagree with the statement, though? Do you disagree that?
I absolutely disagree that because you necessarily instill good values in your children, they will grow up to be good adults.
But doesn't it set the basis, sir?
I am not telling you don't instill good values, mind you. But don't think for half a moment that I'm telling you do the best at all points in time, and I will admit a lot of parents do not, I do not know what percentage of them, but a lot of parents do not instill quote-unquote good values.
So where did you get the statistics from, sir?
It is a website based, is more European than anything else.
It's more European than anything else. And do you agree that therein lies half of our problems, right?
When you say what is it?
In the context that our children, and we live in a society where we tend to allow greater influence from outside what's coming from North America and the wider world as it is, while we surrender our values here.
I am not advocating that. I did not advocate a value, no. I tell you, a statistic, a study show that 37.3% of the children who you instill, worldwide, it was not European thing. The website is European. The study is worldwide.
Well,
considering that we are 750 million people.
I wouldn't. I'm not going to debate the results of that.
But what I'm telling you, it is not because you see child A, young adult A, teenage A behave in a particular way. It does not necessarily mean that the parents of the said did not instill good values in them. That is the point I'm trying to get across in case you miss it.
No, and I'm agreeing with that, but the greater point I'm making is, and I don't want anybody to miss it, that the installation of values is not just limited. I said parents have a responsibility. Parents. However, that responsibility is extended to the school, the church, and I firmly believe that if we provide a child if we provide a child or children with the base, that you will find even when there are occasions where they may deviate, at the end of the day, there was a values that stays with them for life, and they may behave in a particular way, but even when they become adults, they then go back to those base values.
Not necessarily.
Well, there is always anomalies, sir.
And don't ever try to remove the responsibility from a person. From the time a child is 5 years, she knows they are doing something wrong. Why do you think they hide when they're doing it?
And again,
they have not even influenced one way or the other. But they hide.
I would maintain that the adults have a responsibility to ensure
know when they are doing wrong things from very early. But they do know.
But somebody have to take responsibility to ensure that those values are repeatedly.
I agree totally. I'm a parent, you know.
Wonderful. I just want to make sure that I don't want us to start quoting statistics and then somebody out there get away with the wrong notion.
I still think you missed the point, though.
No, I understand what the point.
For that statistic. I'm not making an excuse. I'm just telling you what is the reality.
But whose reality is that, sir?
The reality of the situation. Well, I know cases where parents have grown. I have friends who have grown their children, all the right things, and then they went totally awry.
And I am not saying no, sir. I don't think we would want to be debating that. All I'm saying that as a general rule of thumb.
We expose our children to a lot of things. Although we give them the very good values, we expose them to a lot of things.
Thank you very much, sir.
Everything.
And that's where the challenges very often come.
We ain't taking it personal. I mean, all of us.
And I know, because very often we assume because we tell a child A, B, C, they accept it. But you telling them 1, 2, 3, but they're seeing something else in your life.
That is the thing.
So the point I'm making is it has to be.
But we have 5 bottles of whiskey in there.
Thank you. But you're telling them.
Drink every day.
But you're telling them don't drink.
And we go in the veranda and smoke a cigarette.
Thank you.
And don't smoke.
And that's why I said it has. It cannot just be what we say to them.
But what we expose them to.
What we expose them
to. What they see from us. What they hear from us. And it is not a straightforward situation at all. It is very complicated. How do we get them away from seeing this? What do we lock up the television? What do we do with our cable? What do we do with cell phone, tablets?
Reinforcement. I think at the end of the day, it's all about reinforcing values. Reinforcement of values every day. Reinforce values. Even us as adults, we've grown up.
Don't listen for the media and think that we play. When I listen to tune, when I listen to radio, and minute after minute, all I'm hearing is how much rum you should drink, how much thing you should break down, how much thing you should mash down, how much thing you should destroy, and whining on whatever part of a woman's anatomy, and joking, and all these other things that I do not. When the nation is bombarded by these things, and our children are in the house, how do we reconcile?
And I agree, and here's the point that I make. So I'm going back to my base point. That our children, we're going to be exposed to multiple stimuli. There will be. The question is, ultimately, they're going to be exposed to it. You're going to create one environment at home, but they travel on the bus. They go to the city center.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is, you have to give them a base. Communicate with your children. We need to communicate with each other as they move from one stage in life to another. If you lose them when they're 9 and 10, don't think you're going to catch up with them when they're 13 and 14. So as they progress through life, we have to be able to move with them, mature with them, share with them, maintain, continue to reinforce those values, and pray God that it all turns out well.
Right, we hope that we are the biggest influence in their life. That is what we have to hope.
That's what's important.
To follow us.
Do what we do.
Because mind you, never mind what you tell them, you do not necessarily, if you are working person, do not spend a lot of your weekend time with them. They hear a lot of other things besides what you are saying. As a matter of fact, what you are saying is maybe account for only 20-25% of what they hear. They expose a lot of other things.
But I agree, but I said the point I'm going to and I'm going to maintain it. At the end of the day, you have to develop a relationship with your children. You have to. You must ultimately.
You should.
And I think that is what's going to be that deciding factor as to whose voice will they trust. Will they trust what they hear on the outside, or will they listen to the soft, still voice of wisdom that comes from their parents?
Not necessarily the case.
I am not saying that, sir. We're not. There's always a flip side to everything.
We hope that is the case. We all hope.
Let's all hope this. Let's hope the same thing, sir. Yeah.
Good, and do it.
All the best.
Good.
435-2041. For me, I don't like measuring in the negatives. A report says, and there's always going to be a million reports out there that says a lot of things. And sometimes you have to question the people that's putting those reports out there. What is their agenda? There are people out there that is just totally intended to disrupt our value systems and maintain, train up a child in the way that he should grow, and when he's old, he would not depart. It doesn't mean that he's not going to make mistakes, but he'll hold on to those values. Good morning, caller. You're alive.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
I just want to make a little comment. When people are speaking, especially in Grenada, and keep saying we'll have when action actually happens. Now, from my knowledge, will have means that the action didn't actually happen. Let's say, for example, they get paid, they will say, we will have gotten paid. I would like somebody to maybe call and explain it. Maybe I don't have it correct, I don't know. And concerning the comment the people were making about the young female performers on stage, I think it should be looked into. I saw it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. My take on the issue of would have and the use, there's standard English and there's colloquialism, and very often there is a convergence. And I'm sure my dear friend Mr. Clyde Belfont will agree, and I try not to hold people accountable in their throats as to whether they speak what we refer to as standard English. There's always crossovers. I try to focus and show that we communicate, that we can understand each other. What I say, you teach both sides. You get an appreciation for the standard English, the proper language structure, the mechanics of the language, understand that, but yet we make allowances for the colloquialism that is part of who we are, the Grenadian that is in us. 435-2041. I know sign up there individuals that are sticklers for it, and I understand there's place and time for everything, though. We go back to the telephone lines, though. Good morning, caller. You're live. 23 minutes on to the hour of 10.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
I just want to toss my little bit in on the English we speak. Because did you know that while they refer to us as English-speaking people, do you know that it was Pidgin English that was brought here? You can look it up for yourself to see what is Pidgin English. Because there were so many different languages in the group that were involved in the slave trade, they made up a language called Pidgin English with simple sentences and so on, so that they will be able to communicate. So that is what was brought here. Now, after all the wars and so, remember we were French. Right? You have to remember that Grenada was French. So in any given sentence that we speak, you could find a French word, there is still a French word. So when there was the battle now and the British got Grenada, what the French people did now was just translate the words into English. No, the French formation of a sentence is different to the English. So the colonial people realized that, and they decided they're going to put English in our school's curriculum. Okay, since then, they're struggling to teach us standard English. Since then,
Right.
And up to now, because before we understand the English we speak, we have to come to terms with who we are. We didn't make up the sentence, how they call you. If you go back to the French, the colonial, the British people would say, what is your name?
Right.
That is not what the French people would say. That is not what the Spanish people would say. And in fact, in Spanish, your answer would be, I call myself Me Amo.
Right. True.
I call myself Josephine. So before we get our English right, we have to understand who we are as a people, why we speak the way we speak. Because standard English must be taught to us as a foreign language. If you are going to say that you're born in an English-speaking country, so you should know English, well, waste the time with that.
Crap with smoky pipe.
It has to be taught as a foreign language, just like how, imagine, they're telling us that we're in an English-speaking country, but students failing English and they're passing French and Spanish. The question is why.
Why?
I will leave it there.
Thank you. 452041. I think for me, I normally would prefer, I'd appreciate, I love, we must be able to communicate with each other. So for me, once a person communicates a message, I try to interpret, understand, analyze, and execute. I try not to hold on to whether the grammatical structure. And yes, there are times for it, and I agree with that. But I mean, I love people to be themselves and communicate the best way that they appreciate. We go back to the telephone lines. 20 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock. Good morning, caller.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, you're alive.
Yes. There was a gentleman. He made a reference to his father. His father was a strong church-going man. He said if his father is going to heaven, he doesn't want to go there. Thank you.
And that's what's the basis of that, sir, if you don't mind, because I'm still in a bit of a stupor as to exactly what he's trying to communicate.
What he's saying is that based on his father's behavior,
right,
if his father is going to heaven,
right, good,
he doesn't want to go there.
And that's what I wanted you to explain. And I understand the point that you're making clearly, that sometimes we say one, but our actions, it tells a totally different story.
Precisely.
Thank you very much, caller.
Okay, sir.
4252041. That is the number on the inside. And there is sometimes lies the perplexities of life. How do you decide? Certain parents say, do as I say and not as I do. Ooh. We go back to the telephone lines. Good morning, caller. You alive?
Yeah, good morning, Joseph. Good morning to your listeners and to your viewers.
Good morning to you, sir.
I was hoping to get you early on, but I'm just getting on. And the female caller, the last female caller had a lot of interest, quite a few interested take on it. And to a large extent, I agree with her. However, I would say in terms of that English, that we consider it a second language rather than a foreign language. Just that I would say at this point in time. But I was going to say some other things, like for instance, unless we know who we are. One of the things that from ancient time we've been told, man, know thyself, or human, know thyself. The fact is that up to now we don't know who we are. We argue what we are and what we're not. So if we don't know what we are, you can imagine what we're doing to the children that we inculcate in. It is said that a child may not adhere to anything you tell him or her, but they will imitate everything he sees you do. Bandura, that Harvard professor, says we have to model the behavior that we want our children to do, and we don't do that. We say, do as I say,
right,
but not as I do. I always got difficulty in understanding why we would say, okay, this is not for children and that is for adults, rather than encouraging people to do what is best and help children to understand that there are different stages of things. Like there are different, for instance, we used to have different, like when the child born, 8 days the mother does something, then they start christening, then start communion, and then whatever. We don't have this kind of thing where the child goes into stages as in other societies. So, I mean, we make adults of children even before they start to walk. say he's a little man, a little woman. I mean, it's problematic how we are confused people. And then we are also hurting people who go ahead and hurt people. So I would say that we need to get ourselves fixed. In fact, I got up this morning and part of my reading began with a quotation from Leo Tolstoy. He said that everyone wants to change the world, but nobody wants to change themselves. And that's the biggest problem we have in the world. And Gandhi did say also, be the change that we want to see in the world. And we are not working on ourselves, and that's the problem. Now, let me just chime in on something on the period we are right now. This morning on your network.
Try to keep it as short as you can, please.
Yeah, I will. They were talking about the whole issue of the carnival, the lyrics, and whatever. And I would say, part of the thing is that, again, it goes back to knowing ourselves. The people on the radio wasn't too sure about when semi-final started in St. Andrews and where, and all of that kind of stuff. These things people should know. I mean, when we into this season. Additionally, they talk about the standard and the quality of the lyrics and so on. One of the reasons for that, in terms of the lyrics, we are not a reading people. Look how many, the papers, there's less reading people. I mean, the papers, nobody reads the papers anymore. Look how many bookstores have closed down in recent times. We don't have a library. We don't have any meaningful dialogue or debate going on. So people have a limited vocabulary. And that's why in the villages, the children are already exposed to all these things that we're trying to stop from either the areas or other places that they go. It's right along ahead every day. Trust me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. 435-2041, that's the number to get on the inside. Just a part of I want to make a point though. For persons that are on social media, I do, and I know sometimes I know there are folks who probably they would prefer, I'm not sure if they would want me to call their names and to say, well, Joseph Kado said X and Y on social media. I go to social media and I will extrapolate that which you're saying, and then I will reference it. So I see folks, my dear friend, who's commented that nobody's bothering with him. It has nothing to do with that. I may not use the same words, but I'll extrapolate it, rephrase it, and I would ask a question so that you can get a response. Somebody can offer you a response, my dear sir. Just at least for those of you that is on Facebook, because sometimes you would appreciate the conversation that takes place on Facebook. It's a different conversation that takes place for folks that's listening in otherwise on traditional mediums anyway. But either way, stay right where you are, those on Facebook. Good morning, caller. 12 minutes onto the hour. You're live.
Good morning, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, my dear sir.
I would like to thank Ms. Maguire for the lesson in Pidgin English. Thank her very much. But the question is, in my mind, we would have, and even some people say would have. Would have is the conditional tense. It's normally followed by an if clause, right? No, you would have been at home reading a book.
However,
you didn't have to come on the program, right? It's all have to do, like we say, with communication. But if you are communicating something to me and you are giving me the wrong information, there ought to be a problem with that. For example, a regular thing you hear from one of your co-workers who attend the cabinet, the Tuesday business. Right. He would ask the Prime Minister, and I'm not even talking no. He would say, Mr. Prime Minister, you would have said so and so, right? And then he comes with this question, but you're right there, and the Prime Minister said it. So why are you making it a conditional issue? And we seem to be making an excuse for bad grammar, which is taught in schools, and where we have very poor results year on year. You hear people complaining about whether it's at CXC or at the CPEA. You hear them
Well, let me ask you a question,
talking
comrade.
about results in English.
And I understand the point you're making totally, and I agree with you. However, though, before you run off, because you know that I know who's there. So, but we call it names. I know it's you, Pele. I mean, you and I know that. But for instance, we grew up and you've heard the expression, come out in the road.
Yeah.
A child is in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
And you say to him, come out in the road. What does he do?
He comes out in the road. He leaves the road. But let me tell you.
But that's the point that I'm making.
Colloquialism, that's what I tell you. I appreciate the colloquialism.
Right.
No problem. Whether the day that is Victoria colloquialism more than anything else.
Right.
It was not only in this election, it was in our previous election.
Right.
I appreciate that. But when you have a reporter going through something or people, you're trying to communicate to me and you want to tell me something, and what I'm getting is incorrect, I don't think that's good communication. That's all I'm trying to say.
And I agree with you 100%. However, though, when the question is asked, a response is followed. The person gives a response, don't they?
Yes, I mean, they give a response.
Because?
Let me give you another quick example.
Because they understand.
Yeah.
But I agree with the point that you're making.
No, well,
and I don't think we should ever make excuses.
From this radio station picking programmer.
And I agree that should never be accepted.
Right.
And I agree. But I don't make a fuss though. In those cases I understand. But I personally don't make a fuss if somebody calls me on air and they use the term. I mean, I'm not going to hold that against them. But I agree there's place and time for it.
Well, we're different. I mean, the reason I'm saying that, my grandmother used to let us sit down to listen to radio.
Correct.
4 o'clock, we had to sit down and listen to BBC News so that we could talk properly. In the evening, when there's on Wibs, going back in Wibs, actually Miss Margaret, oh Lord, what's her name? A very good voice on Wibs. She died a few weeks ago in St. Lucia. My condolences to her family. She was one on the radio, and I remember listening to her. And as a boy, I want to speak like this lady. We ought to understand, right, how we deliver and how we communicate when we on the air and the programs, etc., that we are doing.
And I agree with you 100%.
And we need to stop making the excuse about it's colloquialism.
Well, that's a different conversation, Pele. Pele, you always find I agree.
When you're going over the air, where people should be there, and people who come maybe to learn.
Right. Over the air, on fine. But it wasn't the case where it was reporters making a comment this morning. But I agree. I do agree that I'm not taking anything away from that. But I think sometimes, though, I'm just saying they will find a convergence of both. What I suggest, though, and I live by that, teach our children. We teach them the mechanics of the language so they can appreciate it, because you would find where there will be an overlaps and a convergence of both. So teach them both. But I'm not going to hold a knife to anybody's throat if, for example, they say would have.
Like in the picture, I mean, Bob Marley said, natty dread instead of naughty dread. Get the ghetto talk from Jamaica, and it is accepted worldwide.
Right.
Then secondly, there was a little talk about the lyrics in the music and stuff like that earlier on this morning.
Yeah.
By the way, I really enjoyed the calypsos. We have very, very, very good calypsos. Innocent, I'm sorry I didn't hear your name, but I thought you'd have been there, but that's a different conversation. And
listen, Pele, even in the Kaiso, remember there was a little joke before you run off. We would have to run though. With what's his name? A couple of years ago, he died. He won road match.
Timpo?
No. Alad. When she go down? Remember Tangala. So Tangala sang when she
man changed the language
when she go down and
she started saying when she go down I gave her. And we didn't say nothing.
And we said nothing about it because each and every one of us we appreciate it.
What's his name singing all the time? Dear Senior Santa Claus, I hope you won't forget. We have no problem with that. Michael Jackson being sacrilegious every time. They sing it in churches, they sing it in school. That God turns stone into bread, radio station playing it. We don't hear the noise behind that. And we're supposed to be a Christian society.
Anyway,
enjoy your carnival.
You too, bro.
Bye.
435-2041. I'm probably going to have time to entertain one final caller. I think very often I allow people room to express themselves. And once I get the general gist of what somebody's trying to communicate to me, I would offer them a response. I'm not going to hold them and say, well, speak stand properly or whatever it is the case is, you know. But I agree that based on where we are, who we are, there is certain standards that is expected of us, and I agree with that those standards should not be compromised by any stretch of the imagination. But there are other individuals, they call and they may use it. I'm not going to hold it against them in any way, form, or fashion. I probably have a chance to entertain this final caller, and you'll have to be very brief. Caller, good morning.
Yes, I'm turning it on to Joseph, to the point.
Good morning. Yes, you're live.
Okay.
2 minutes, so we're almost out of time.
Yeah, I'll be quick.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm looking at you on Facebook. So sorry. What I wanted to say was that we speak in the Caribbean a Creole language, okay? So it's Grenadian English Creole, Trinidad English Creole, and so on, okay? Standard English is different, okay? So we have that kind of disparity. So we go to school to learn standard English, but what we speak is really a Creole. So I just wanted to make that point. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. It's about 5 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. We'll have to surrender that conversation there for today. I'll leave it here for today until another place and time. It is always a pleasure being here with you. I think what we need to do is to find ways how the question is being our ability to communicate. And that's always going to be varied because each of us, we hold ourselves to different standards. The standard to which I hold myself, you may not do the same. But I think what we need to try to do is to learn to appreciate where a person is coming from. We grew up hearing, come out in the road. Come out in the road. But trust me, when you're told to come out in the road, you know exactly what is it your parents are asking of you. Are they asking you to leave the house and go into the street? Or are they asking you to leave the street and find yourself on the side? It's interesting. The complexities of it is the language, but at least at the end of the day, we just need to be tolerant and appreciate each other and do what we can to make this piece of rock a better piece of place. From all of us here at the GBN, we say thanks for being part of today's conversation. Until then, so long, everybody. JC loves you. Have yourself a wonderful, a super califragilistic, espialidocious Tuesday morning.